man. Zinchenko could never. Arteta signed me for the depth, man.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Right, you're looking kind of smart, are you, my guy? We saying, man, I can't even do my usual intro. You're looking like one of them journalists and that. Is that Chris Wheatley over there? We saying.
What have you called me, Andrew?
on the stream? Bro. It's not live, my guy.
Okay.
Alex,
it says feet Andrew.
Nah, your name's not Andrew. It's Alex, bro.
Okay.
I was going to call you the different knock, but I find it a bit weird when people call me Deluded, so I thought, let me call you Alex / let me call you Andrew, bro.
You sound like your text DG, which I really rate. I love
DG
that.
works. DG works. He's like the designer.
DG, like Digi. There was my principal at my university. He just signed CX, which I just thought it's a power move. You know when you end an email,
yeah. He's on some boss stuff, man. He's trying to be like Abramovich or something. He's got an overinflated ego. I bet he was a prick. He was a prick of it.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I mean, sometimes you can say nothing without saying anything, man. Oh, man. But yeah, man, love for tuning in, people. Make sure you're following all the YouTube stuff. Again, all you need to do is Alex's, better yet, his channel's pinned to the title by the time this is out. Let's get into it, man. Before we get into Chelsea, obviously, this is the time I'm getting to speak to you. Let's talk about City, man. How did that make you feel? What did you feel about City? What did you learn? I don't want to bring the PTSD, but still.
So I shared my screen last time I was on here. Can I do that again? Because I've got some stuff that I've been working on. I can illustrate. I can illustrate my point a lot better.
We do that again.
I went on present, share screen. Here we go. Sorry, it might be a bit messy at first, but here we go. Yeah. So
I can't see.
Essentially,
oh crap! You can, you know. Oh, here you go.
Essentially, can you see that? Yeah.
Oh, you see what we got here, people? Analysis and that.
So we had a problem in the sense that at the back, normally we go in a man-for-man press, right? So Odegaard would probably be on Diaz. But because we had to cover at the back, and I'll show you, where are we? 2-on-1 on Haaland, because we always had 2 on Haaland, because we had Holding and Gabriel on 2-on-1. We couldn't then do that man-for-man press because we didn't have the numbers to go forward.
You have Kevin De Bruyne in the gaps, capitalizing on this whole thing.
Exactly. So essentially, this is another way of showing it. Because you have 2 people here, you cannot play your normal man-for-man press. So they always have a spare man at the start, right? They have John Stones. And then what happened was we were trying to block the entry pass. Partey would push up, Odegaard would push up, and it leaves all of that space in behind. No, not that one. Sorry, it leaves all that space in behind
Chelsea
for Kevin De Bruyne. So it leaves. So when Partey pushes up, because we ultimately there would have been a spare man over here somewhere. Would have been probably Stone. Sorry. So we can't fully go man for man, and then when we're trying to push up, we're trying to stop that entry pass to go in. De Bruyne gets the space. So that's the sort of, for me, the
headache, that last screen.
That was very sorry. That was fundamentally the issue against City, right? Now the question is, where does that come from? And I've started a new rule for myself that I've stopped saying Rob Holding's name, and I've started using the phrase. I've started using the phrase "wrong profile" because that's all it is. It's just the wrong profile for the job, right?
I like that.
So it's because it's not a person. It's not about Rob Holding. And the problem is as soon as you mention Rob Holding, people go, "It's not all about Rob Holding." You get into these arguments about, well, but that's not the point.
I know exactly how you feel, and I
yes,
all of this. You say Rob Holding, oh, you're engendering this and that. Like, no, he's a good guy. He hasn't been that terrible. He's just not of the ilk. If anything, as much as I love Arteta, you probably have to blame Arteta and Edu for considering this scenario and having to rely on Rob Holding in that. So you're right, man.
Yeah, and even with that, I just think, ultimately, I think I said this last time I was on, he's signed, over the last 2 years, we brought in Tomiyasu, Ben White, Saliba, and he's trying to integrate Raul Walters, and we were looking at Fresneda. Do you know what I mean? He keeps trying to add us to a situation where we don't have to use Rob Holding. You look good in the shirt, by the way.
Of course
The
I
shirt
do,
suits
man.
you.
So good looks so separately, my guy.
But yeah, so that was the main issue, and ultimately that comes from having the wrong profile at the back. So the City game, I think, was ultimately a massive tactical problem where we just couldn't deal with the fact that they changed from their normal 3-2 build up to a 4-4-2 or 4-2-4, what you're going to call it. And they always had the spare man, and then also it's just a case of quality. Like realistically, we are so behind them in terms of our squad makeup and in terms of our squad depth. And, you know, they've got players who've been there since 2015, 2016. They're at the peak of their powers. We've just signed our Kevin De Bruyne. If you look at the numbers, and I'm not going to share my screen again, but
if you're talking about Mr. Martin Odegaard, I'm here for the propaganda. So share that screen if you can.
In which case, I will show you this.
Get that out, man. Because some people think he's somehow a bottler. He's gone missing. He's gone that. People fail to understand how vital that guy is for Mikel Arteta's system, how much of a captain he is, even though Xhaka's the traditional captain. The guy's lit. You know, potential in the world. In a day and age where Arsenal have done a lot of bad business, 30 million euros with no buyback clause to Real Madrid. Boy, we did well, man. What happened to the screen?
It really surprises me.
Zoom in a bit.
Yeah, is that right? So essentially, if you look at these numbers, so De Bruyne is red, Martin is blue. We've signed essentially a stylistic, a very similar profile to each other. If you look at the numbers, they're very, very similar. They're lower in the aerials, tackles, and
naturally
pass adjusted. Yeah, of course. But, you know, De Bruyne is probably a little bit ahead in certain areas. Odegaard's a little bit ahead in certain areas, scores more goals. He's got more ball recoveries, probably just from the role, etc., etc. But we've essentially, what we've done in terms of where we are in our football is we've signed our Kevin De Bruyne's for the future, and we now just have to let them develop. So I was frustrated, obviously, as I'm sure everyone was, and I was really upset. But honestly, by like 50 minutes, I was like, all right, on to the next one. There's nothing you can do. Like, it's just so good.
What did you make of it psychologically? Because even though I agree with everything you're saying, and definitely the stats to match up, sport is competitive, isn't it? Like, you know, City have won games, but ultimately I look at games like Crystal Palace and Fulham, they gave them more of a game. If I forget other teams and look at us, I say we played City 4 times because we played them at the Emirates. We played them the Emirates twice. I include last season. We played them in the FA Cup, and we obviously played them in where we're referring to. Now, in those 3 games, I can kind of accept the loss because I think we went man for man. We matched them. We were competitive. Fair enough. City, they capitalized on the fine margins. For me, because I was doing a watch along, when I looked in the tunnel, everyone looked scared. Apart from Benjamin White, everybody looked scared. And I think that kind of harmed us, as well as obviously, like you said, tactically, like we're going long and it's just coming back and Rob Holding. So what do you make of the psychological things? Because I look at prior to us winning against Chelsea, I think we've been struggling psychologically against Liverpool and West Ham with complacency. Southampton, we look shook. City, I would say we just looked defeated before the first goal even went in, man.
I think you're right. I do think you're right, and I think more than one thing can be true at the same time. I think there's the tactical component I spoke of, and another thing as well. I think it's very hard. People say, you know, where's the fight? Where's the press? Where's all this sort of stuff? And it's like, but without the proper structure, it doesn't matter. You are unable to go and press and get aggressive and get at them and win your tackles, all that sort of stuff, if you're not in the right structure. And we had to deal with Haaland at the back, and it had that massive knock-on effect. So again, that doesn't excuse the fact that there were times where I felt, come on, mate, get to the ball. There were times where I felt, come on, like there's little moments, and I agree. I thought I was scared as well. So there is definitely a psychological component, but also the thing with City, and there was an interview with Gundogan, I think it was, who said we've been here before. We know how this feels. You know, we've been here. What the last? How long has Gundogan been there?
Probably they've been winning. What they won? What is it? I swear, Pep, they've got like 5-6 prems in total. And five and 6 years or something. Yeah, they've either way, no matter how many years, you're right. They've been around the block. They know how to cope with pressure. There's a reason why they've hit stride now. Pep Guardiola loves this part of the season, and I do think Arteta, as I'm sure you've seen it, he's tried to mimic that when he said in the press conference, "This is my most favorite time of the season," and that. Now, obviously, privately, it's probably not. You know, he's human. There's a lot of pressure, but he's trying to do that. But like you said, and I agree with you, they're not new kids on the block. We kind of are, and I think we need to take all the good things from this season, improve in terms of street smartness, defending, transition, all of that stuff. But above all, relish that, because as much as it's a high pressure environment, like Lord knows if that's high pressure environment, what is it when, you know, last season? This is a privilege. This is what we wanted to be in, surely. So we need to learn from it. But you're right, man. You're right. It hurts me to agree with you because we're talking about our team rather negatively. But you're right, man. Forget all of that, though, man. Let's go focus on Chelsea. 4-goal thriller, Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. What are you saying, man?
They were trash.
Terrible, isn't it?
Come on, are they getting relegated? I was doing this on a podcast the other day. I was like working out all the numbers, whether it can happen.
Probably too much for them to go in it, but there is a possibility.
Yeah, you need like Leicester, Forest, and Leeds to win 3 out of 4 or something. To it's not going to happen.
Well.
Yeah, it's not.
It'd be lovely. But the thing is, Chelsea, as fucked as it is, they can probably lose all those games. On paper, they probably won't. But you know, if I go on their latest fixtures, I can't lie. Based on their current form, because I was speaking about this, they could lose that all, you know.
I think they got Bournemouth, Forest, and then Chelsea.
That's probably why they didn't turn up against us, man. They're focusing on Bournemouth, which is going to be a great game. They're in form and whatnot. It's a tough game. So tough. But like, but in theory, they could lose all of that, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy I'm not them. But yeah, man, as you were saying,
mate, put that away. The tab police were coming out again.
You know what? I knew you was going to say it. You know, I thought, because you didn't say it immediately, I thought this guy might just leave it. You know, Alex might allow it, but he just couldn't, man. You must get paid every time you mention that, man.
I do.
Oh, man. But yeah, what did you make of the Chelsea game? In fact, let me help you a bit. Talk to me about Kirill.
Yeah, he was all right. I mean, I don't think he changed the world. I suppose what he did do was people didn't. Ultimately, these guys see each other in training and they know what the level is, right? They know, and this guy's clearly got talent. He's played in midfield. I think that people talk about like our line and stuff and the fact that we could squeeze up a little bit more. I don't actually think it was that big. The difference, we were a little bit higher, and Kivior could deal with the threat in behind a lot better than Holding. But actually, for me, it was about the compactness. It was more about the fact that he stopped dropping back in the way Holding does at times. He was really
in a foot race. In fact, he was getting quite tight to Aubameyang now that you mentioned that.
Exactly. He was really in. He was straight in. And this is the thing, is that there was a number of situations where is it? It's the Alcaraz goal against Southampton. That is a perfect example of Saliba jumps straight in there. And it doesn't even matter if Saliba is likely to win that duel. Even if he doesn't, you delay the attacker. That's all that matters. You delay the attacker, you delay the action, you let people get back, and then you get into defense, right? So it's not about always winning your duels. It's about the fact that you're willing to go in there because, as you say, you back yourself. So yeah, I thought he was all right. I thought he was a bit conservative in his passing. I felt as though
naturally probably a bit uncomfortable. First start and that one.
He's on the wrong side, and I get it. You know, it's probably a difficult thing. I felt as though he was always. I'm not sure. Did he pass to Ben White maybe twice or something? So I'm not sure.
So, maybe when Ben White was as part of the free, but I'm not too sure when he was doing his right back thing if he got it off Kirill too many times.
Yeah. So I hope in the next few games we see. I hope he stays in, frankly. But also, I hope if he does stay in, he can just start to think, all right, you know, I can open my body out, because you just felt as though he was telegraphing himself to the left because he's more comfortable, which is fine because it's his first start, and you know that's really understandable.
I'm with you with that, man. I can forgive him for not, I wouldn't say he's lacking confidence, but natural nerves. First game at home, regardless of Chelsea's form, it is a big game. We all know the dynamics of why Arsenal need to win, basically every game. I think he kept it steady, man. Like, you can only play what's in front of you, but I think you will both agree, and everybody listening, Newcastle's the real test. That's a completely different test. I think you said it, you summed it up. I wouldn't say we were significantly higher up, but I think if nothing more, and I don't want to disrespect Rob Holding, but I think Kirill gave a lot of confidence to the team just because of the pace and whatnot. We can play close to our natural game since Saliba's been gone. So I'm all for that. So we're focusing on our midfielders. I do think Granit, Odegaard and Jorginho all played well now. We've given Odegaard enough praise. He scored 2 goals. He's an amazing player. What did you make of Jorginho?
Yeah, fine. I wasn't particularly bothered by Jorginho. To be honest, I was more impressed by Xhaka. I thought Xhaka had a brilliant night the other night. He was so good, and he, you know, this is the thing, and you know, maybe this is something I want to talk about, maybe not. But you know, when you look at profiles in the summer, I think what we've got at the moment is such a lovely blend of skill sets when we play Partey and, you know, even Jorginho, really. Partey or Jorginho, and then Odegaard, Xhaka, you have a kind of solidity, stability, someone who can drop back into the pivot, someone who can win the second ball, someone who can have a bit of a goal threat, but is he's kind of a dad of the team. You've got Odegaard, a bit more creative, whatever.
You said it perfectly,
and then,
dad of the team, yeah.
Yeah, and then Partey, who can get the ball off them and play it forward, and is a lot more progressive. So there's a real nice blend of skills, and I think Xhaka showed exactly what he's in there for. He just kept winning the ball back and playing it to a more progressive player and a more sort of someone who can do something on the ball.
Done his job, man.
Exactly, and credit to him. And I think he came out after the game and spoke to the media, as he always does. And I always respect that from players, because
he always fronts up. I'll give him that. He wears his heart on his sleeve, rightly or wrongly. That's why I've got a lot of time for Granit personally.
Yeah, no, so do I. The only time I've been like was do you remember the Players Tribune interview where he was in black and white and it was like, oh, life's really hard, and I'm like he just wouldn't take any responsibility. Like I understand him being like the fact all the fans have used stuff like that shouldn't happen, and he should talk about it and people should be speaking about it. But there is another aspect to it that he doesn't mention, where you were terrible as well. Like you were bad at football for a period of time. You have to accept that you were underperforming as well as this was. Like, I'm not saying abuse was acceptable, but you have to at some point be like, I was on the pitch and I did give the ball away. And I weren't,
yeah. Maybe it weren't the role that I was thriving, but I weren't really that good. That was kind of polarizing. Like, I'm happy for Xhaka because I've always believed in him, but still, you're right, man.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Go on.
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
No, go on. Because you're setting up the convo perfectly, because I wasn't planning to ask you this, but it's been playing on my mind. In fact, I might as well just ask. Obviously, you can see Xhaka's new role, right? And you mentioned it. He's durable, heart on his sleeve. I think if Arteta was going to war, he's going to war with Xhaka. That'd be the first man in that Arsenal team he's calling up. But I do think you can see Partey's qualities. I think both times you can see that we probably need somebody a bit better in one of the roles or another option. Who do you think, obviously, the ideal world would be to have Xhaka, Partey, and some other options and whatnot. But do you think it's a case of, as much as we spoke about this before, how Declan Rice might be groomed into that 8 role, do you actually feel it could more be Rice and Xhaka or someone for Partey? Because I do feel Partey is better than Xhaka, but you don't really see the great look at this guy. You don't see the great Thomas Partey playing to those levels on a consistent basis. Xhaka plays closer to his maximum. And also, even though Partey's kind of been fit, we play a lot of games. We're going to play a lot of games. Xhaka is 9 times out of 10 fit. Like, there's not been too many games he's had to miss out. And that is the best quality you can surely have as a manager, because you can bet on him and what he gives you in the system and things. So who do you think is more likely to be dispelled from that lineup? Because I used to think it was Xhaka. Last few days, it might be Thomas.
You're right. I don't know. I suppose what I feel is we have to have, as I said, a blend of skill sets. We have to have a number of. We have to have a group that can keep the level. I think part of the problem at the moment is when everyone's fit, on the right-hand side of our defence, we have Tomiyasu, who can come in and I think basically play. We could have Ben White at centre-back and him at right-back, or
there's no drop off. You've got Hayes who raise the quality, and then you have people that just make sure it doesn't fall below the floor. That's also been an issue this second half of the season. Right.
But I think we only have like 12 or 13. I'd say Tomiyasu's the only one who can come in defence, and just we don't see a drop off. And Trossard, I think in certain areas, false 9 maybe on the left, I think we see enough. So we need this summer to, in the midfield, the moment we lose that triumvirate of Partey, Xhaka and Odegaard, we lose something. We lose that skill set. We lose the quality. We lose something. So I think for me, it's more about adding in, say, a Rice. And I think part of the reason Partey's dropped off a little bit is because he's knackered.
Knackered, and respectfully to Rob Hop, what did you say to call him again?
Wrong profile.
Yeah, wrong. According to wrong profile, I can't lie. I think everyone's been, while we've been in poor form, I think on a number of players, fans have been harsh, really. And I think fans have been very harsh on Partey. Ultimately, he's going to die by his high standards, but he's basically playing as a centre-back, half-back. He's in midfield and he's still trying to contribute. He's on his J's, bro. He's on his J's. He's
was it, I think, against... He came on against Chelsea with Rob Holding, right? And I remember seeing that and being like, it's like his handler. It's like his little chaperone. Like, come on, mate. All right, let's get on.
Security guard, man.
Let me help you out. Yeah. So, you're absolutely right. He's playing all sorts of different positions. And I think he's tired. And I think ultimately what would be great is to be able to go into a Champions League fixture in the group stage against RB Leipzig and go, right, Partey's starting this match in the 6. At 60 minutes, we'll move Rice back from left 8 to 6, bring on Fabio Vieira to chase a winner or whatever it is, and then Partey's fresh for the weekend. That kind of stuff. I think Rice has the capacity to play in left 8 and in the 6. I think he'll probably play more in the left 8 at the start, but also be able to drop back at the end of games and stuff like that, and also play in left 8. I don't know. I mean, realistically, I feel like it will be Xhaka, because we do need a bit more mobility in that zone. We do need a bit more
of a tempo dictator, I feel. That's why I want to see Odegaard in that role, but I don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Odegaard's ready for it, though. I think he is, but I don't at the same time.
I think we'll... honestly, what's funny is we see constant adaptations in this team. So we've seen Ben White move around. We've seen Saka move around. We've seen Xhaka move around, right? And then the second you go, I wonder whether people go, no!
Yeah, no. But you know how Arsenal fans are. They want depth. They want different options. They want the manager to make decisions. And then when the manager does it, they're not happy. Like, they're not happy. You can't please football fans.
Of course.
Specific to Arsenal, you can't praise Arsenal fans.
Certainly can't. But the Jesus one, for example, like, I wonder where he's gonna end up. I don't think he's going to end up right wing. You know?
I think he might genuinely end up, if we get a number 9. I don't know if it's how big of a priority is, but I do think we're missing a trick. Maybe having like a lamppost, someone that we can just knock it into their chest. If we get that, then I think Jesus might feature a lot more frequently out wide, because I know he obviously joined us with the carrot of playing as a number 9 and things like that, and he has the capacity to score goals, even though he needs to improve. But I think you might ultimately die by the same things that kind of cost you at City. You more have to be a great squad player, and rather than kind of be the guy, because I know you've been injured, but I just don't know if you're that clinical. I think you're 10 times what Lacazette gives us, and respectfully to Lacazette, I'm not trying to disrespect him, and I think I'm being a bit disrespectful to Jesus, but it feels like we're kind of there again, if I'm honest with you. Someone that works really hard, great, and that good, skillful player, lovely, but they don't necessarily look like they're born to
Where are the goals, my guy?
Where are the goals? And he's got 10, to be fair, but others have got more.
No, but ultimately, I do think we have to have a bit of a shift as fans, in this sense of, like, I think the part of the reason I love Arsenal is we allow people time. We develop players, we develop, people, we give people second chances. I think it's one of those things. But if we're trying to compete with the likes of Real Madrid, who booed Ronaldo,
chased Bale's car, a Champions League, scored in the Champions League final for them.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's I don't want to become that, but we're trying to compete with that. So I'm saying that is 10 goals enough from your number 9? Is it? That's what I'm asking you. And if you're genuinely happy with that, cool, but I'm not. So I'm like, right.
Anyone that is comfortable with 10 goals needs to take my name. They really are. It's unacceptable.
Exactly.
Because Jesus has the scope to do better. Like, I'm not going to ask someone to do more than they can. Like, you can see me, I'm quite sympathetic to Rob Holding. I'm only going to ask you to do more if I believe you've got that capacity. Ultimately, you're going to live or die by the high standards. It's like Arteta. When you do great tactical shifts and it works, I'm going to praise you. If it doesn't work like in life, I'm going to answer, Gaffer, why did you do that? Just like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I thought Holding would start. I don't really care about Holding or Kirill starting between each other. I'd rather give Kirill chances. Had that not have worked, I might have said, why didn't you start Partey? Why didn't you start Martinelli, your most informed player, etc., etc.? So you're right on that, man. We need different options, man. And we need someone who can get 10 plus. Like, well, I say 10 plus, 20. 20 as a minimum. Jesus should be getting 20 league goals minimum.
Yeah, well, I think we need goals from our number 9, whatever that comes. And I think the thing is what happens is you go, and you say, I'm wondering whether Jesus will end up at right wing, and everyone panics and goes, What about go game by game? You go up and you go, well, in this game they've got really, really unmobile centre backs. Jesus is going to be able to pull them round. Let's stick him in for 75 minutes, then bring on, let's say we sign like that Šeško guy from Leipzig or something, who's like a proper tall number 9 to finish off the game, swing some crosses in. Then on Tuesday, in Champions League, he starts on the right wing because Saka needs a rest. It's not if you look at it, and this is why I mentioned that in the first place to talk about the midfield. It's not we've moved past. This is my 11 4-4-2. Sir Alex Ferguson. 2 players for every position. It's a squad game, and we need to sign people who can play in a number of different positions, because that's why Man City can keep the level, because Man City are able now, and obviously they're in a financial position too, but they're not spending loads and loads of money. They're just smart, like Akanji. He can play anywhere across the back four, and he's an
Look
unbelievable
at Ake as
player.
well. Even Kyle
Yeah,
Walker
so-
and Rodri. Rodri could play centre half if need be for them. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
happy you keep using City as a guide point, because I do the same, because naturally you want to be like them. And I think Arteta recognizes this, because either he signed players and he's using them in different roles, or he's brought in multifunctional players and developing different relationships in different players. You know, Trossard, Zinchenko, Granit Xhaka, fair enough, still playing in midfield, but it's changed. Benjamin White has reverted back to right back. Tomiyasu, natural evolution for me. Yeah. But yeah, Tomiyasu would naturally go back. I think he would naturally just be a centre half a bit more. I think that's how you get around it. And then indirectly, what you said earlier, you start finding a flaw really and truly. And that has to be done with a squad. You know, there's only, you look at Liverpool when they were competing, you look at City, there's only a couple of players that are ever present, even which has historically been Kevin De Bruyne. There's been some games he's been taken out. Right now, it's Haaland. Grealish on current form has made himself a permanent fixture. Foden, I keep forgetting he's at City. This is what we need to do. You know, Liverpool had a couple of players that would chip in. Even an Origi would be a cult hero. Salah was the only one playing on a consistent basis, bar a couple of others. So we need to get with that. Players need to get comfortable, and I think Arsenal fans need to get away from this. I don't know if Smith-Rowe will leave, but anytime a player's not playing and whatnot, oh, it's over, they're not playing, get rid of them, they're finished, they're this, that, Arteta doesn't like them. You know, they said Arteta didn't like Martinelli last year. But hey, 14 or so, 13, 14, whatever goes later, fair enough, isn't it? Like, it's nice to have. You know, all right, let me ask, go on.
Charlie Patino.
Yeah, we need to get on to it. I'm so happy. It's like you read my mind there, because I wanted to ask you about a couple of London boys. Smith-Rowe's allegedly available, says some reports, even though I don't buy it. Nelson's allegedly turned down the first contract offer. And obviously, Charlie said, I want to leave. Where are you at with the three Haylen boys?
Smith-Rowe, look, as I say, I think I've been very patient with this project, because I've always believed, genuinely, like, and I'm so proud of myself that I backed it from the start. Like, I honestly, the podcast, the different podcasts that we do, I remember like early doors when we had like 2 listeners. I remember just having like so many debates with my co-host Bradley about Arteta, just backing into the hill. And at points I was like, I don't even believe this.
As a fellow Arteta lover, I've been there. It's like you're backing them in public, and then you turn off the screen and you're like, Arteta, I've got a lot of time for you, but like, I can't see it now. You need to let me see the training, because I can't see it now, my guy. Fortunately, we kept faith.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, and I will admit there was times where I was like, I'm not sure I believe this, but anyway, I stuck with him and whatever. But now, you know, we've been through, and I've been like, right, cool, yeah, we're doing exactly what I do. We're signing like 20, which is what you should do. What I think. You know, we're signing 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, pre-peak players who are moving through. Now we're at or close to the level. Now's the time where we need to go out and get Rice and Caicedo, or whatever it is. We need that Van Dijk Alisson period. We need that moment where it's like, and you know, because the football, the quality and the standard of the tactics, and the quality and the standard of the technical level at this club is rivaling the best team in the world. We've seen it this year. So then it's about talent, and we have to add that talent. So then, to return to Smith-Rowe, I know it's hard as Arsenal fans, because we have emotional attachments to these people. Honestly, Real Madrid people, like, I know that we're not the same kind of club, but Real Madrid, if they had a player who was playing like Smith-Rowe, they'd absolutely kick him to the curb. They'd be like, get out of our club. I hate you. Like, what's the point? You know, why are you even here? We shouldn't be that. I'm not pretending we should be that, and I don't like that idea, because you need to nurture people. But if a bid comes in for Smith-Rowe for 35 million, and we've got in, let's say, a Mason Mount in the summer, take it, because
I'm not taking that. I need to see some 35 mil and stuff. Like, do you know what? I wouldn't begrudge the club if they did, but considering he's just signed a new contract, been capped by the country, scored 11 league goals last year, I know it's not about the past. I will keep him at least for next year, because if an offer comes and he wants to go in it. But if nothing more, and you're not going to be doing what Saka and Martinelli doing, you're a fucking fantastic squad player, super sub. We need that. Yeah. Like, we need that. So I'd keep him. But like you're saying, I couldn't disagree with that logic.
I think, like, I want a record sale this summer, is what I've said. Our record sale moment.
Who's going to go for a record?
Is Chamberlain. Well, we've got Tierney, Balogun, I'd say Nketiah, because he's homegrown, could fetch that if he goes. And I think Smith-Rowe as well are all in that realm. And realistically,
Balogun would be your money maker then.
Because we're selling from a position of strength. And again, I've defended Edu because I've gone, no one wants these players, so it's hard to sell them. So yeah, I think he could have done better, but he's done all right. And so someone like Smith-Rowe, if we get like a record transfer fee for him, he's a great squad player, and he's someone that I really like, and I think he has a great future in the game. But it's life, and ultimately, here's the question: we get the fixture list. We're away at the Etihad on October the 1st, 2023. Do you want Smith-Rowe starting that game? Yes or no? Right now, do you? You don't. Yeah. So take 45 million for him and reinvest it.
I can't let you get 45 million. That's when I start to speak, innit? Because I do think there's going to be a point where he remains ever fit and shows his quality, and we'll look at what if. But either way, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. It's a means to an end. Right now, we're going one way, you're going another. Where you at with Nelson turning down the deal and Charlie wanting to leave?
I don't know about that. What's the turning down a deal thing?
Apparently, Sammy Mokbel on the Daily Mail, he was speaking and he just said literally that Nelson's just turned down his first contract offer, which, as you know, in negotiations, very rarely is the first offer accepted. So it could have been that. Nelson, to our knowledge as fans, he keeps saying, I want to stay. But until it's signed and your contract running down, everything's possible. Would you let Nelson walk? If you was Nelson, would you walk? Do you think he has a future here? Do you think he could be anything more than a bit part role here? Where are you at with Reece?
Well, firstly, Sammy Mokbel's pretty reliable, so that's probably good information. And secondly, yeah, I think you're right about contract negotiations. I wouldn't be anything to worry about. I mean, it's interesting that we've offered him a deal, because I would have thought we let him go on a free. I don't know with Nelson, because I think the thing is with players, and especially young players, like Smith-Rowe pre 26th of December 2020, everyone thought, yeah, good young player. Then he comes in, does that, and you go, we got to start. One game. So all it takes is for Nelson, like Saka's a bit ill. Nelson comes in, scores 2 against, Liverpool or something. Oh my God, Reece Nelson, he's the hero, he's the star, he's the game changer. So I don't know. I think he's got the ability, but loads of people have the ability.
It's just about the application and consistency and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and showing it on the day, exactly. So, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I suppose what I'd say is, if we can get him to sign a deal that makes financial sense for us, do it, because then you're in a better position. He could sign a deal now and then go in the summer. Like, just contracts are they're just contracts that can be torn up. But I also feel it depends what's available, and ultimately we're working from a position of not knowing how things are going to work out. Realistically, at the moment, if we don't sign anyone in forward areas, I'd be worried about losing Nelson, because I think especially it's another body, and we're already light especially on the right. So we'll see. I don't know about Nelson.
I'm with you, man, in the sense of, if nothing more, I just don't want to see money walking out the door, really and truly. So it would have been nice to, even if you're getting 10, 15 million for Reece Nelson, that's 10, 15 that can be put towards somewhere else. It's a bit like Ainsley Maitland-Niles that is come. I don't really care about Ainsley. I think it's needed to happen now. We should have taken the Wolves or Everton money, but we've not taken out the 1-year extension in his contract. And we're letting, for me, whether you rate them or not, they're English players. Like, fair enough, Ainsley's been capped by the country. He's not the hottest property on the planet, but there's some sort of allure to it. People always want English players. And like what you said, with getting better at sales, every little helps. 10 to 15 for Nelson, the same for for Maitland, sorry. That's an extra 20 odd that gets put towards something. That could be the difference between the valuation of a Declan Rice or whatever. And I know it's not as easy as this, but you could say, you know what, we don't normally do this, but the money's come in. Let's just do it, innit? So it's kind of that. And like you said, with record sales, I want us to do what I saw Liverpool do, where you're seeing Dominic Solanke not really pull up any trees over there, but they're selling him for a decent fee. You're thinking, wow, are you money laundering? That's what we need to do. And in the same way, if we ask Arteta to get better, we ask the players to get better, then I just want the best from it doing it, really and truly, even though I think he's done all right. And like you said, I think at times fans have been doing a bit too much, and his hands have kind of been tied. And I think while he hasn't got the top targets, things have worked. Where are you at with, because he also said on the article, he spoke about Lavia, he spoke about he did speak about Declan, but I know your thoughts. He spoke about Lavia, Zaha, Mark Gurhey, and Musa Diaby of Leverkusen. Where's your opinions with them?
Are they all on? I need to read this. Are they all on the list?
Apparently there's some 6-man shortlist. Oh, I didn't even got the article. Oh, yeah.
Have you got the link? Because I haven't seen this. Cool. Been in the gym, mate.
Through it there, man.
Are you DMing it?
In fact, what am I doing? I can just share my screen.
Okay.
Tap police. Look away now. But yeah, skipping through it. Like obviously, 6-man shortlist. Let's pause that. 6-man shortlist. You know, you can see the names: Diaby, Rice, Zaha, Gurhi, etc. Scrolling all the way down to the bulk of it. Obviously, they're saying Diaby's likely to cost in excess of 50 million quid. Zaha will only be moved for if we're unable to get Diaby and things like that. Nelson has rejected the first contract offer. Declan's our priority target. And it said we're on to Mark Gurr. He's impressed Arsenal's recruitment staff as well. Mm-hmm. And as well as that, he said we're listening to offers on the following players.
Yeah, all makes sense.
So,
I think, and again, that's another kind of underrated element of the summer. How much we might get in sales.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't. I'll be honest. Gehi, I don't know enough about. I haven't watched enough of, so I don't know. Diaby, similar. I haven't watched enough. I don't know. Like the idea of them both, but I don't know them. So, Zaha, I've always quite liked that idea because realistically,
I think the box gone, man. But go on.
I think boyhood club. I think if it's a 2+1 kind of deal, he's still I think he can come in and be a decent option for us. The problem is, right, okay, let's say we get Declan Rice and then we get Rice, Caicedo and a proper centre-back and we have like no money left, but we don't.
Yeah, naturally you're going to have to lean on the Zahas of this world and things, free agents and that. Yeah, no, you're right.
I 100% do that. But the thing is I don't know. So ultimately, if we get like say 100 million in sales, we buy a £20 million centre back and just get Zaha. Yeah, of course I'd be like, what? Yeah. But it's one of those things. I think it's just
savvy this window.
Yeah, it's going to depend on finance. As every window, it's going to depend on finances. I like Zaha. I think he's really explosive, dynamic. I think he could, especially, he's still got a lot to offer. I think, especially in a team that creates more chances and gives him more time on the ball, I think he could really do something.
He'd get bombs off seats. He'd be exciting. Like, my only worry is, I don't think we would, but it depends on the contract. Shades of Willian. He evidently declining is not always a bad thing, but like he's evidently declining a little bit. And yeah, I just think we need a bit more longevity in that regards. But like you said, it depends on the money. It depends on the profile because, as you know, even Mark Gurry at Palace, he's not going to be cheap. Rice ain't going to be cheap. Diaby ain't going to be cheap. Caicedo ain't going to be cheap. Lavia might be cheaper because Southampton are gone, but these Premier League guys are going to cost money. If we've done the scouting angle and we found that physical number 9, those central midfielders, etc., who haven't necessarily got a massive profile and are available at cut price and emerging talents, then, like you said, if you cut some corners, then you're obviously more flexible in other areas. So it all depends. Where are you at with Pedro Neto? Because he's not in the article, but there's another article that's linked Pedro Neto of Wolves with us.
Yeah, don't mind him. Again, I think he's just a little bit too, not necessarily similar, because he's a bit more kind of lower center of gravity, a bit more close to the ground, a bit more dribbly. But I think we need. It all depends. If you're asking me, do I like Pedro Neto? Yes, I like the player. If you're asking me, should we get him over other people, or what's my priority? He is not my priority. My priority is absolutely 2 top-class midfielders. I think we have to get this summer. I don't think it's negotiable.
Full agreement with that.
I also think in terms of, let's look at it in groups. I think goalkeeping group, I think is fine for now. Defending group, we've been scarred this season by that right side of our defence. But realistically, especially if Raul Walters is as good as Arteta seems, I think he is, we've got 4 players in that position. So I'm not like, if we don't do something there, I'm not going to panic. I know people will panic, but
I won't panic. But I'll be a bit. We've seen this movie before. Like I would like a Fresneda and a centre back, if I'm honest.
Yep, it would be. And similarly, left back is interesting. Well, so left side of defence is interesting because I think Gabriel Kivior's good. Then it will depend. I think if Tierney goes, I just wonder if I wonder if Zinchenko is the option long term there. Now, again, we're talking a similar thing to Jesus in the sense that he could play there for, 40 games of a season and doesn't play every single game and maybe comes out for the big games or something. Because I think that's, at the moment, too much of a... If I'm scouting Arsenal, I'm looking at that, and we've had a lot of goals down our left-hand side.
That's the area you're targeting.
Arteta and Pep both love these sort of centre-back, full-back people who are like 6 foot, 6'1", who are progressive, who are proper defenders. Zinchenko isn't that, and that's why he tucks in the midfield. But I just wonder whether something will change. But that might be a 24-25 thing. I don't know. Might be a bit further down the line.
Like I think Partey might not be numbered, but I think that's one to watch if I'm honest with Partey.
It's probably going to start to ease off. And again, it's not in the team, out the team. It's just he'll probably start certain games and not start others. So, exactly. And then I think midfield definitely need 2. But then in the forward areas, I like someone like a Pedro Neto. I just think if I'm looking at the profiles that we have up there at the moment, we have low center of gravity kind of combiner in Trossard. That's sort of what Neto does. We don't have. Not exactly, but we don't have a target man type centre forward.
Physical number 9, lamppost settings.
Like we don't have it. And look, it might be that Arteta doesn't want that. That's fine. But we've got 2 issues. One, we've got a lack of goals on number 9, and we don't have that kind of profile. And that to me spells that there is a space in the squad for that kind of player. I don't think Balogun and Nketiah are that profile. So we'll see. So again, all of the names I like, all of the names that we're linked with, I like. There's no one I really dislike particularly that we're linked with. I just think it's about how the squad is constructed. So it's more about, okay, if we lose say halfway through the summer, if we lose a Tierney, I think we need to be looking at something different. If we lose Nelson, we need to be looking at something. Do you know what I mean? So it's about profiles.
I think you articulated that perfectly, man, and that's how I try and articulate it. Not as good as you, but it's like me. Like when people ask me on my streams and that, it's like. Me thinking a player is good or liking him isn't enough. There's a lot of variables and dynamics. There's plenty of players just on ability. I would have them at my football club. But when you get into it, there's a lot of concerns. But, I'm happy that it's a problem for Arteta and they do. I don't have to really deal with it. To wrap this up then, what are you thinking about Newcastle? Where's your thoughts at with that? Scary.
Yeah, it's scary. I'm going to be in Newcastle this weekend, actually. So I'm going to try to get a ticket.
Oof.
Yeah.
Not sure you want to be there, depending on what happens.
I don't. I think we'll be okay. I think now we've got Kivior, the structural issues feel less urgent. As long as he does play him, and there's a part of me that thinks going away he might not. So, and he might just do
he might draw for Rob Holding, but then again, either one, surely it's going to be a big test for Kivior where you're going to have to. I hope not. I hope I'm over talking Newcastle, but I think it's a game where you're going to have a lot more area duels. You're going to be pulled out wide a lot more. You're going to be under the cosh a lot more. You're probably, as you kind of said earlier, he was a bit conservative with his passing. And I know he's playing on the right-hand side, but he's probably going to have to be a bit more braver there. And he's going to have to be them percentages better. So I'm happy he got a lot of confidence at home and the Arsenal away fans will be making noise and all of that. But I am tempted to see what he will do. Will he bring in Rob Holding where he's kind of the one thing you can give Holding when it's a day just for the conventional type of defending? That's right up Rob Holding's street, backs against the wall, man in this, Don's at war sort of thing. He's in his element. But this is why I want the right-sided centre back. So this isn't necessarily a thing. So final question: what would you say if it was a score prediction then?
By the way, last time I was on, I predicted we'd have trouble at Southampton in early period. Do you remember that? I said we'd struggle.
So predict some realistic stuff again, my guy.
We're gonna win. We're gonna win 10-0. I'll go 2-0 to us. I don't think it'll be easy. But I think it might be a kind of late, two at the end, kind of like a 78th minute and a 83rd minute kind of goal. Like that, I think it'll take a long time for us to break them down in the same way it did at the Emirates. And I think once it happens, they'll have to step out a little bit and we'll be able to get in. So
I'm gonna go 2-1 Arsenal. I think they'll score first. I think they'll have us under the cosh. I want to be wrong, but I just think that's how it will go. Maybe it will take us to get in at halftime and Arteta to get with it. I am expecting, and if I'm expecting it and you're expecting it, so obviously Arteta will. I am expecting a confident Newcastle side. St James's is a nasty place to play. So I'm expecting a big test. Definitely a lot more than what Chelsea had in it, but we need to win in it if we're going to keep any small, faint hopes of delivering certain titles back to Arsenal and for the first time at the Emirates. So we'll have to see, man. What content you got to come out, man?
I've got video. It depends what my editor's doing because I haven't heard from him in ages. But I'm doing a video about how angry I am at Arteta about the holding situation. There's a new podcast on the way. It's an exclusive. I haven't said this anywhere. The Cannon podcast. Yes, that's right. There's another Arsenal podcast. The Cannon podcast with Babs, the YouTuber guy, and George and me, which we're recording the first episode of later on today because Babs wanted to do it. So I was like, all right, so I'll see how that goes. So look out for that. There you go.
Make sure you look out for it. It's a shame it's not out. I could have put the link in the obviously in the YouTube description and things. Make sure you're subscribed to both YouTube channels, people. It's been a fantastic talk. Been 45 minutes of entertainment. And hopefully the next time we speak, bro, we've got more 3 points, man. But yeah, people smash the like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications, browse all the channels and do all of that good stuff. Alex, I'm out, man.
Subscribe to Deluded.
Come on, my guy. One love.